As my dear colleagues already introduced me, I'm Vilyana and I'm the head of our Leadership Accelerator program, which actually aims to support women in developing and boosting their entrepreneurial mindset and leadership skills in order for them to take the next step in their career. And this is actually what we're going to be talking exactly about today. The trends in the leadership culture, the major learnings of our amazing panelists that we have, and also a couple of tips on how to approach your career, how to shape your career proactively. So I would like to give the word to our amazing panelists to say hello as well and introduce themselves with one sentence. So Laura, how about we start with you?
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura, and I'm the Managing Director of the Austrian Angel Investors Association.
Thank you, Laura. Very happy to have you here. We're going to learn a bit more about what you do in the next minutes. Marianne, how about you?
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. My name is Marianne Österlund. I'm an investment manager at Wave Ventures, which is an early stage venture capital fund in the Nordics.
Happy to have you as well. Diana, let's hear from you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana Stiles, and I am the Chief People Officer at N26, the Challenger Bank, and so happy to be with you. You can see I'm not the next generation. I am an X generation who is passionate about shaping the next generation. So happy to be here.
Yeah, you are a role model for the generation, for sure, for the upcoming one. And Wiktoria, welcome as well.
Hi, I'm Wiktoria Wójcik. I'm a co-founder of inSTREAMLY. It's an early stage startup in the live streaming and marketing space.
Happy to have you as well. Super excited. We already connected once before, and I'm now actually really curious to hear everything we wanted to share with our audience. We're going to start by discussing a couple of trends in the leadership culture. Actually, at Female Founders, we curated a small leadership report with our participants from the Leadership Accelerator on what they think are the most crucial trends that leaders should adopt in the next year based on especially what happened in 2020. And I just want to make 3 pointers, also 3 of the main points of this. So one of them is actually to emphasize trust across the organization. The other trend would be to offering more space for learning opportunities and balance, work-life balance. And the number one trend would be to actually adopt a change mindset and on every level actually, and be constantly with that mindset. The first question actually for all of you, it's in your opinion, why are exactly these trends taking over? And anything that you have observed in your particular environment as well. Diana, do you want to start with it?
Sure, happy to. I think with the year that we've just had, I think it's really important that we do adapt and change. I mean, I think that that's such an obvious thing to say, but it's really true. We had to pull on the trends that you're talking about, like organizational trust would be one, where people that used to have physical proximity, you were able to do stand-ups literally in the hallway, and now you're having to replicate those things and do them virtually. Many of us have worked online already and been having virtual roles that are global and far-reaching, but for a lot of companies and a lot of startups, it does have physical proximity to it. And I think we've had to pivot and change on how we are showing trust for one another, how we role model ourselves to be trustworthy. I think the trends you've identified are exactly spot on to what we're going through. And then this work-life balance piece is really at the heart of everybody right now, in making sure that we find our sense of well-being when we're working differently and getting very tired of how what's going on in the world and not being able to balance our lives in the way that we used to. So trying to figure out ways to make sure that we can recreate that in the new ways of working is essential.
Thanks. Marianne, how is that going in the Nordics? How do you see, have you noticed this trend as well showing up there?
Definitely, and I can speak also from kind of a startup and Wave Ventures perspective, where we call ourselves a millennial venture capital fund, because we're all actually students still, and I can speak from a kind of millennial and Gen Z perspective. And I think the new generation is hyper aware of environmental and social issues, as we saw with the Black Lives Matter, for example, last year. And this has really been enabled by social media. And I think that the new generation is increasingly demanding that organizations adapt and change their mindset, as also Diana was talking about, that the status quo is like that has historically preserved no longer serves, and that organizations really need to take responsibility for their climate footprints, for diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and among other things. And I think the new generation is not afraid to speak up for things that are not right. And I think what I've observed in the startup space, and I think this also applies to all organizations in general, is that the culture and the value of a company really goes hand in hand and needs to align with the ones of employees. And if leaders are not paying attention to these things, they are going to lose out on talent. And I think this comes back to all the things you mentioned, Vilyana, about what you observed also at Pigma Founders, that as a leader, you have to have an open and adaptable mindset and really listen to your employees and what their concerns are.
Thanks, Marianne. I'm also curious to hear what Wiktoria has to say about it in her role as a co-founder, and especially in such a young age as well. Have you already adopted kind of some of these trends in your company, in your startup?
Yeah, I think for us, trust is very important because being in a startup, working in a startup is a constant opportunity for learning, and I think everyone we work with have never worked in a startup before, and even if they had, every startup is different, every new company is a new journey. So I think we really emphasize how everyone is learning. From my perspective and from leaders' perspective, we are very open to say that we don't know something, we need to test it out. And it's all right to make a decision, test it out, and then see what happens, instead of being in fear of making the best perfect decision and in the process not doing anything at all. So I think this trust and how people also move from other companies when there is a stale hierarchy, that the decision chain is long and slow, people really appreciate the change and the trust you can put in your employees. And yeah, I think this is the most important thing. I think this is also because there's so much knowledge and so much things you can learn for free online, that it would be hard for you to prohibit people from customer support participate in developing the product and proposing detailed product improvements and ideas, because they can learn it, they can read about it. And I think right now, I would even say that this new leadership trend might be the fluidity of what you do. Like, you are rarely specialized in a role. When you're working in a startup, you have to wear many hats. Of course, as the company grows, you need to specialize, you need to have people just doing their job. But on the other hand, this is why startups are the most innovative. This is why they grow so fast, because people are willing to take new challenges, and they are in an environment that allows them to do it.
Totally agree with all the points. And yeah, last but not least, Laura, what's your experience with these current trends that are appearing in the whole world, actually?
Yeah, I also totally agree with all others. And I think what we're basically all saying, the relationship with work has really changed. I think like back in the days, the people just were going to work to earn money. And now we want to like have a purpose, have a nice team we're working with, want to reach something higher. And I basically feel like the trends you identified, they're basically the fundamentals of a functioning organization, which we see nowadays. And I think also a lot of young people, they want to work in such an organization where trust, balance, a change mindset, they're not just trends, they really live there and everybody has the same spirit. And yeah, I hope like also a lot of organization, also like older ones, they also establish those fundamentals, because I think they have to attract also the new generation of workforce there. And yeah, I just think it's really important, especially trust. And I think trust has never been that important than now in digital days, because you have to kind of feel a connection. And I am feeling it a lot in my organization, as it's a network of investors. We have over 200 members, and they also have to establish trust between each other in a digital age for co-investments, which were just done physical. Like, I think back in a year, nobody would imagine. Marianne, I would also like to hear your take on this. I think there was always like, I have to meet at least the startup team once before we invest. That was like the state of art. So I think, I'm really happy that that's not, maybe it's a trend now, and I hope like also in the next year that's just becoming normal.
Yeah, that it stays, and it's something that I hope we don't take for granted, but we appreciate and we incorporate more and more in the future. Yeah, thank you for your inputs on that topic. I would like now to go a bit more into your personal experience and your major learnings based on what you have been doing in your career. So then actually our viewers can learn how they could see how they could get inspired and also shape their career. I would like to start with Marianne this time. You are in quite male-dominated field, and actually you even wrote your thesis because of the environment you are in this. You support female founders very actively, and you're always pro-diverse teams in trying to encourage also the startups that you work with to be more diverse in their culture. So what would be your main learning when it comes in female leadership, or in the trends that you notice there?
I could actually tell you the story of how I got into finance, because when I studied my bachelor, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And one of the first things that I really did was I ruled out finance, because I saw all these boys in my class competing about the most prestigious internships at banks, and I really thought that I didn't fit in. I couldn't see myself there. And I learned about these devastating numbers that at the time there were almost no female partners at VC firms in the Nordics. And so I wrote my bachelor thesis about women in VC and female entrepreneurship. And at the time, actually, Goldman Sachs was hosting an event for female founders. And I thought that this would be a super opportunity for me to do some background research and connect with female entrepreneurs. So I went there, and two of the speakers one was is a Swedish partner, a female partner at Goldman Sachs, and the other was Goldman's previous COO, who is also a woman. And I was so blown away by these women. For the first time, I really felt that I had some role models in the finance industry. And after the event, I went up to talk to them, and I actually had a coffee with the Swedish partner. And while talking with her, she said that the finance industry really needs more women like you, and more women like many in the audience. And she really encouraged me to apply to Goldman. And I actually did an internship there previously. And I think if it wasn't for her and her encouragement, I would have never, ever applied. I probably wouldn't be working in finance now. I wouldn't have found my passion that I really actually enjoy it. So my takeaway of female leadership is, first of all, that role models matter, that the ability to see yourself in a position. It was also the same when I got into VC, and it was actually, like I mentioned, there were almost no female partners in Nordic VC firms. And then one day, the news broke out that Sophia Benz, who was talking here earlier, actually, she became a partner at Atomico. And at that time, I realized if she can do it, I can do it too. And I mean, take Whitney Wolfe, the founder of Bumble, who just IPO'd her company with a baby on the arm. I mean, what an incredible role model for women everywhere. And that's why I, for example, find Wiktoria, who is in this panel, so super inspiring. And like coming back to my experience at Goldman and the female partner who encouraged me, I think it's so important for us as women to help each other out. Like, a woman alone is super powerful, but collectively we can have such a huge impact. And I mean, we all deserve a seat at the table. It's not a zero-sum game, and together we're so much stronger. And that's really my takeaway. Yeah.
Thank you for this. I totally believe it, and that's actually also one of the core values or beliefs that we have also at Female Founders, and why we have Female Founders as an organization. Anybody wants to add something to Wiktoria's experience on role models and network?
Yeah, I think role models are really important. I did not have like a clear role model for me in this space, but also on the other hand, I know that this is our time to build the role models, to make them more visible, to get to young people who want to get into tech or don't even know that they can get into a space like this. So I think this is really important, and sometimes people really forget about that. But I also always think about this from the perspective of even female protagonists in gaming. Like women want to play games that have a female protagonist, and it's for a reason. And it's the same with any other part of life. You want to see people similar to yourself, and you then want to be like them in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, sometimes you don't even know what is out there because you haven't seen anybody like yourself in that environment. Lara, this is something actually that you also do. You're trying to bring more women to be investors, also in an environment that is quite now still male dominated. Can you share with us how's that going? What are the biggest challenges there, but also some success stories like that you are very proud of?
Yeah, I think it's a really relevant topic to talk to. And when I was thinking about role models, now we have this kind of second generation of like German really successful founders, which are really became role models. And I think this really also encourage more female founders and more just females to start their startups. But when we look at investors, it's way harder because you can convince a girl basically to found their company, but you can't just convince any woman to be an investor because they need to have the capital, they need to have the resources to contribute, and they also need to have the freedom to be able to make really risky investments. So I get asked this question a lot, like, what can you do? I mean, first of all, we need more women with capital. And what's the best way is to found their own company. And we are already struggling a bit with female founders. So I think this will like take a few more years when we have more female lead exits, because I was also looking recently if there were any Austrian co-founders who had like a successful exit in Austria. And there was just Kati Klausberger from Spock, basically. And maybe prove me if I'm wrong. Maybe I didn't check all of them, but basically that was my result. So I think I'm mainly struggling with finding women who are having the relevant capital and also the risk awareness and also the support of being able to support startups. But like, I think this will change. And also today somebody like made me aware of that the influencers are basically can be the next generation also of investors. And I also found this kind of interesting, because I think sometimes we don't think about or like have maybe a wrong picture about influencers, but those are all a lot of women. They are all entrepreneurs basically, and they will have the capital also to invest later on. So yeah, basically finding the people, making them aware of that angel investments are really a cool thing to support young, especially young female founders, and that it's really helpful and it's really contributing to the ecosystem. It's contributing to the next generation of leaders, and also their kids and also their like relatives will benefit from it. So yeah, I think that's the main challenge. And I think what also female investors need more are networks. I think it's also good or it's important that there would be also more like female focused investors network. I think we also basically lack a bit on this in Austria. So I think we lack a bit on the women who would join the network, and also on the networks, but we also try to do more in this space. But yeah, it would be really interesting also to hear the takes from all the others in the panel about female investors, finding them. I didn't found like a solution for this now, so I'm really thankful for input.
Yeah, I'm sure you are working on it for sure. Like it's one of your main focuses. But it seems that again, it all comes to really having us and also more experienced women as role models, and bringing them together to showcase and to then amplify the impact that this can have. I want to now go a bit more into the topic of how to shape your career proactively, and then I especially talk to Diana about it, as she's the one of the actually the most experienced from us, especially when it comes to managing organizations, talents, working cultures. You already as an established, successful leader, from your perspective, what would you tell the younger generations of what already a leader wants to see in the younger generation when it comes to proactively shaping their career or their own path? So, for example, a female employee, what would you want to see in them so you can encourage them and support them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so inspired by everyone we have on the call. I mean, speaking of role models, Marianne, Wiktoria, Laura, you guys are amazing. You are really serving already as being the faces that people are looking to see in your spaces. I think it's so cool. At N26, we've got, we've scaled up quite large now. We have 1,500 employees, 80 different cultures. We are in 25 markets. So we have a whole bunch of diverse employees that are out there. I think one of the things that I really try to help leaders see in others is don't just leave it to like self-directed development. And when I first got to N26, was just 5 months ago, we had these personal development budgets, for example, €1,500 given to every employee. And I thought, wow, that's a good amount of money to be able to do something with. But in its worst, you just leave it out there and people would have to figure it out for themselves. At its best, you would be able to meet with your leader and talk about what it is you'd actually want to do. And it might be a complete different step from where you are today. What you want to do off in the future might be completely different. I started off my career in sales, then I decided to go into HR. And I remember one time I was meeting with my boss and I wanted to have a job like hers. And I was doesn't really matter, but I was in recruitment space and I wanted to get into HR management. And she said to me, "Oh, you're never going to be an HR manager, Diana. You don't have the technical skills." And I mean, I just stared at her like, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Are these technical skills unlearnable?" Like it was just ridiculous. What a silly statement. And so I think what I try to teach leaders to look for is what I had back then. And I said, complete clarity. I knew what I wanted to be. I put a timeline around it. In that particular example, I said to them in January, my old company, I said, "Look, I'm going to be in that role by October, and I hope it's with this company. And I was very vocal about it, and I wasn't going to let it go. And I was willing to leave in order to get it, because I was just like, that's ridiculous. And I did end up, not only did I end up covering her maternity, I ended up then later, you know, passing her on the route, and she ended up working for me. So it was like one of those things that just in life, you know, I think clarity would be my offering, is that I, as a leader, am looking for somebody who can be crystal clear about what it is they'd like to do next or explore. I want them to have a proper timeline associated, be vocal about it, and then, you know, partner with people that can help you get there, because she was obviously not going to be doing that for me. So I went to people in the organization who could help mentor and develop me to be able to do that. And now I've, you know, had a huge career in that space that I was never meant to go into. Yeah. And so I try to help other people figure out how to do that as well.
So it seems that it also goes back to one of the trends you mentioned about the trust, but not only the trust of like the employees at home doing their work, but building this relationship with them, so you can actually talk openly about their next steps of their career, and how you can support them, and not only them when they need a new job or they feel they are not developing anymore, just running away to a new company, but staying there and seeing the opportunities for development inside the organization.
And Vilyana, you've mentioned many things. You know, that's a really great point. And the other panelists have mentioned things along the way of just on this panel of things that are so important. It's like, you know, I heard earlier, you know, have no fear, and the having this trust, and the, you know, role models who inspire and engage. You all were saying exactly what I think leaders should be looking at in terms of shaping the next generation. You're absolutely doing it. And purpose. I mean, you mentioned earlier purpose, and it was, I always say leaders should be looking at believe, become, and belong. You got to believe in the purpose of the organization, and it matches what you want to do. Become is about, am I growing and developing and for the future? And then belong is about that connection, and that was mentioned as well. You all kind of ticked my favorite boxes just in your real stories. Of course, I'm not surprised with this group, but those are my tips.
And I think this would stay for a while, because it's already been a trend, especially the purpose part and the belonging with the millennials, and now with the wires. It's really, that's what they usually hold them into place. Yeah, then let's actually turn into our youngest panelist. She should be very proud of what she has already built. Actually, many people join the female founder community because they're looking exactly for this, for a place of belonging, for a place that they can network and feel supported in what to do. Wiktoria, you're also having big recruitment plans for inSTREAMLY. You're growing exponentially. So actually, what is your approach when you take when you hire people now, your new employees, older or younger than you?
Yeah, I think hiring younger employees versus older ones, or even like saying experienced ones, because it's not always about the age, is a little bit different. But in the end, when you are in a startup, you, as we said, it's about trust. You, in the end, have to give a part of your baby to somebody else to take care of it, and you have to let go and let those people do it. So the most important thing you can do, and it's not even about hiring young or experienced people, but people at all, is recognize the talent. So you have to see some spark. And for me, the spark is willingness to learn. I just believe that you can learn anything if you want, especially like the most of knowledge is available everywhere. You can ask other people. So for me, the will to learn and try new things is the most important. And when it comes to young people, it's even more important, because once you recognize the talent in young people who have no previous experience, even cannot say what they are good at or what exact position they would want to work with, it's very important for you to see the the perspective, how great they can be, and open the door for them. And then see the magic happen. And I was the person for whom the door were opened. I had the opportunity to learn. I had no previous, like I've been in the workforce, let's say, for 3 years now, and 1.5 years is running a startup. And this is only because I have great people, and one of them is my co-founders right now, who opened the door for me and spent a lot of time helping me find what I'm good at, helping me develop. So when it comes to young people, you have to give them room to try new things, and just trust that they can learn quickly. And on the other hand, it's very important to listen to people and make them feel appreciated. Sometimes a simple thank you, a simple saying that this person did an amazing job this week can go a long way. And for me, the most important thing when hiring people who will be leaders is their ability to give back to their team, to say that their team are the ones who did the most work, because that's what leadership is all about. You change from being a person that's a doer to a person that's an enabler. And this is the core of leadership. And also it's very hard to learn. For me, it was really hard to change my mindset from being the person that jumps into every decision to just letting go. Sometimes even like having too much work made it easier because I was so busy that I couldn't just be in every process, and it helped me let go. But yeah, I think the future of leadership is about the trust, the relation, and letting people do their own thing and being there for them.
That's a great way to wrap it up, and with the point that we actually also open the discussion, as we only have like 2-3 minutes left. I would like to hear one final message from each of you to all the women out there right now who need a little bit of encouragement to actually go for the next leadership position and take the seat on the table. So yeah, who would like to start, and just with a couple of words, give them this final push?
So maybe I can start with the approach for the young people who maybe do not have a lot of experience yet, but want a seat at the table. Do not like rely on your previous experience. Show what you can do now. I think the best thing you can do to work at a startup is to just do something. If you want to work at marketing, come with a plan of what is done in communication right now, what could be done better, and your propositions, how to do it. In development, say what new product ideas you have. Like, go out there, do not be scared to just reach out to people you think are amazing, are doing amazing things, and share your ideas with them and what you want to do with them. I think this can go a long way, and I would be always happy to get a message like this.
Thanks, Victoria. Diana, maybe you want to go next?
I would say, be a pioneer and take your inspiration from these three. I would absolutely say, listen to everything that Laura, Mariana, and Victoria have said today, because I think they are really doing it. So many good tips came from people right here in this panel, and go out there and be a pioneer just like they are.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and right back at you. I mean, what an incredible role model you are too. I mean, I could say just that: believe in yourself and own up to your or own your success. And when you do get into those positions of leadership, circling back on my points earlier, reach back behind you and get other women on board on the journey too.
Thanks. And last but not least, Laura, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm just like so motivated and so happy from all the discussions and statements from the others. I try to like get everything inside me. And my last statement would be like search for role models, but always stick to yourself. People will also hire you for your personality. Build also a brand around you. Be how you are and use it like for your benefit, and show also the world how you are and how you do things. And there is nobody doing the leadership who like being the leader you want to be, because that's basically yourself, and you have to work with what you are, look at others and adapt, but always stick to yourself. And yeah, I think it was so great of being part of this great panel here.
Yes, awesome. Yes, it was a pleasure. I hope everybody enjoyed it as well. And feel free to approach all of the amazing women in this panel, and I'm sure they'll be open to talk to you and yeah, exchange.